Hello and welcome to this video. In exactly 108 days I will start my first 100k ultra in the Swiss Alps. This will be a 100 kilometer race with more than 6,000 meters of elevation gain. And in this video I will show you how I will be able to train for this mountain race without having access to the mountains. I still want to train as specifically as possible. So in this video I will try to show you how I will train for this mountain race, and I made a little bit of a different format. I'm going to use a presentation. So I will give this presentation on how I will be training for mountain racing without training in the mountains. So how to train if you live in a flat area, or how I will train because I live in a flat area. A big part of my training will be around running because I'm going to participate in a running race. Later in this video I will talk more about the details of these subjects. Next to running I will do a lot of strength training because this is really a part where I think I can supplement the lack of mountains. Next to this I will do a lot of incline treadmill walking because as much as I would have liked to, I won't be able to run for 6,000 meters of elevation gain. So I will be doing a lot of incline treadmill walking to cover what will be a big part of my race as well. And I will try to do a few race simulations to get as specific as possible. So I'll try to do some race simulation with elevation gain, but also just some races where I will spend as much time on my feet as possible. First, running. Running will be a really big part of my training because I'll be joining a race where I will run for a big part. But because I don't have mountains here, running will be not that specific. That's why I really want to focus on counting hours, not on kilometers. I can run a kilometer here in 4 minutes, but maybe in the mountains it will take me half an hour to cover 1 kilometer. So I'm gonna count in training hours and not necessarily in training kilometers to see my volume gain. I will try to do some hill repeats if possible because this gets my body ready to move upwards instead of just forwards. But to be honest, I don't have a lot of hills or artificial hills nearby, so this won't be a big part of my training. The majority of my training, more than 80%, will be spent in zone 1 and zone 2 because I think I'm aiming to finish this race in less than 24 hours. In those 24 hours, the biggest part of time will be spent in zone 1 and zone 2. So this will be a very specific training for me as well. And then last but not least, I will do some interval trainings as well, because the fitter I am, the faster I will be able to move in this second zone. And also I think this is really helpful for my running downhill, for example, and my running form. And then strength training, and this is where I can really supplement the mountains, I think. I made 3 subjects of strength training, one for uphill training, one for avoiding injury on the downhill, and one for how many sets and reps I would recommend you to do every week or day. First, how to become an uphill athlete. One thing we really need to cover is hamstring strength. Because normally when you're running at an easy pace, your hamstrings are not loaded as much. But once you start to move upward, running or walking, and your torso leans a little bit over, your hamstrings get loaded up a lot more. So you need to cover this posterior chain. I prefer to do the deadlift and the Romanian deadlift, but a hamstring curl or a Nordic hamstring curl can be really beneficial as well, I think. Then, the biggest strain when hiking or running uphill will be put on the calves and of the Achilles. This is one muscle group I really want to focus on. So I will be doing calf races and other jump variation exercises. This is also where interval comes along. Interval also is some sort of strength training, of course. Because you're going faster, you need to apply more pressure into the ground, which is strength training. The third, and very important, is strengthening the glute medius. This muscle helps you to balance your pelvis when going upwards. So when you're standing on one leg, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the glute medius. So I really want to strengthen this muscle as well. Preferably by doing a step up or a reverse lunge knee up, but also more isolated by a side plank or a step down. And one thing which might be beneficial for some is ankle mobility. If you're going to hike upwards and your ankle mobility is lacking, especially in the dorsal flexion, there is going to be more pressure on your Achilles and on your calves. So check your ankle mobility, and if it's lacking on one side or both sides, it might be helpful to try to make some progress here with, for example, this exercise. Then, this is where most people go wrong, I think. How to avoid injury on the downhill. First, very important thing is, while downhill hiking or running, I myself try to go as fast as possible and the most relaxed as possible. If I'm really going to go down slowly, the eccentric phase is going to be tough and heavy on my muscles. But if I'm running down a little bit more relaxed, the eccentric phase on my muscles is way shorter, and the load on my knees and muscles is way lower as well. So, how to get an injury-free downhill? We're going to focus on quadriceps, especially in the eccentric phase. So trying to do a squat very slowly and very deep. But also other exercises might be beneficial as well for this quadricep. The reverse lunge is also good for downhill hiking or running, but also leg extension, for example. Next to this, I'm going to do some plyometric exercises, because running down requires me to store and release energy on a very fast way. And this is where plyometrics come in. Strength exercises are nice, but the transfer from strength exercise to running is not 100%. So for me, I think plyometrics are somewhere in between there and are a transfer from strength training, a very dosed way to train, to running. And then of course, next to this, I talked about this before, I won't be walking down. I'm going to try to run as much as possible when going down, on the technical parts, but also on the non-technical parts, of course. So if possible, I will be running down to avoid a big eccentric phase and avoid a big strain on my knees and on my quads. So sets and reps for strength training. I would recommend to do at least 10 sets of strength training for every muscle group every week, but it can go as high as 20 sets. Then next to this, I want to try to train every muscle group 2 or 3 times a week. So you don't have to have an awfully high load every training if you do it 3 times. But if you do it 2 times, you want to hit at least 4 or 5 sets for every muscle group, every training. Next to this, every exercise I will do anywhere in between 5 to 30 reps. So my compound exercises like a squat and a deadlift, I will do a little bit heavier. With my lunges or my calf raise, I will go a little bit higher, all the way to 30 reps. And then, one really specific and easy way to train for mountain races without having mountains is incline treadmill walking. I have a treadmill in my garage, which is a very big luxury, so I can walk there every time I want. I prefer to put the percentage of elevation as high as possible. Mine goes to 12%, but I can imagine if you have a treadmill which goes to 15%, that will be even better. I'm just going to walk on a 5 to 6 kilometer pace for as long as I have the time. And this works really nice for me, because this puts me right into zone 1 and zone 2. And this will also be a very big majority of my race, because I will be doing a lot of hiking uphill. So this way my body adapts to hiking in an incline without having to spend any time on the mountains. I will just watch some very nice running documentaries and the time flies by. So if I'm going to hike at a 5.5 kilometer an hour pace at 12%, I make 500 meters of elevation gain in 3/4 of an hour. If I want to do 1,000 meters of elevation gain, I have to walk on there for 90 minutes. So this is a really efficient way for me to train with altitude gain. And then the most fun part about training for mountains without having mountains, for me, are race simulations. A try to do a few race simulations, get my body ready for this long and heavy race. My first race simulation will be the Col du Vam 12-hour race. I already did a 4-hour race simulation for this 12-hour race, which will be done in I think a little bit over 50 days. But this is basically a race on a course of 3.3 kilometers with 100 meters of elevation gain, where I will run up and down an artificial hill for 12 hours straight. It doesn't get much more specific with my access to mountains than this race. A lot of time on my feet, a lot of uphill and downhill, perfect race for me to train for my mountain race. I also want to experience spending 24 hours on my feet, so I will join a backyard ultra with a hill in there. I will do the Cardinal Ultra in July. So this is a 6.7 kilometer loop. I will have to perform every hour one time with a mountain or a hill of 32 meters. So this will give me more information about my food intake and about going on for 24 hours. And I'm going to spend a weekend in Switzerland where I won't be doing a lot of running, but I will be doing quite some hiking. So this will be a very nice way to train for me as well. So this is how I will be training for my mountain race while living in the Netherlands. I hope this video might be helpful for you. So I will be doing a lot of running, strength training, incline treadmill walking, and I will try to do some fun race simulations. I still have 108 days to prepare for my race, but I'm already really looking forward to this. And I just looked it up, in 38 days I will be doing the 12-hour race simulation. So if you want to see how my 12-hour race went, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.